Hi guys, today we're going to talk about a really nice API which is called Theme Customization API. Okay, so the job of this API basically is to allow us to customize and add controls to the customizer on the admin screen. So as we all know that if you go into our admin appearance and customize, this is our customizer, and it's got all the different settings, tools and controls to change our site identity. Like if I change this to WordPress, our site identity is changed. Okay, so the best part is that we can see a live preview of what is happening over here. We don't really need to wait to change and then see what's happening. Okay, so that's basically the main job of this customizer is to go ahead and make changes, tweak our WordPress site CSS or alignments or a lot more. Okay, so but what happens if we go ahead and update anything over here? It's not actually happening on the live site just yet. And if you check, I've changed this to WordPress, but if I go onto a live site, it's still my title. So in order for us to make changes, we have to click on save and publish. Once we click on save, then it's changed. Okay, so the WordPress, which means that the WordPress is not actually making any changes unless we're clicking on save. So till the time we're just typing anything and just showing us the live preview, and it does that using the iframe. Okay, just showing us the live preview of what is happening. It's not actually changing anything until we click on save and publish. Okay, so you can do different things, like you can change the color, you can change the background color of your site, put a background image, and you can select an icon for your site, things like that. So you can do a lot of stuff. But how do I add new options over here, new tools, new settings over here? How do I do that? So to do that, WordPress provides the developers this theme customization API, and I'll go step by step as to how you go ahead and use that to create your own settings. Okay, so the WordPress uses two main hooks. One is customize register hook, and second is WPHead hook. So customize register hook basically defines new customizer panels, sections, settings, and controls. So it just defines these settings, but doesn't actually do anything, show anything, or make any changes until and unless we use the second hook, which is WPHead hook. So the WPHead hook allows us to output the custom generated CSS and show our changes correctly on a live site. So we have to use both the hooks for our custom defined functions to achieve this. There's one more hook called customize preview init hook. That's optional, but you can use it, because if you go onto our Codex WordPress site, scroll down where it says configure live preview. If we use that hook, then we can dramatically improve the user experience. This technique uses a little custom JavaScript, so using that hook we can include a custom JavaScript file in combination with our settings, and it gives us a faster and more interactive theme customizer. Okay, so remember, if we don't use this third hook, okay, then every time we make changes like I'm doing now, if I make any changes right here, you can see the entire page is being loaded. Okay, we don't want that. Okay, we want our users to get a better experience. And if you go ahead and use the third hook, which is the customize preview init hook, then you don't have to worry about that, because it's going to be really fast, like super fast. Okay, that's what this is talking about. So if you use this hook, then it's going to be a lot faster. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and explain that to you in probably the second video as to how to go ahead and use that hook. But for now, for this video, we'll just talk about how to create a new setting option into the customizer. So like they have different options like identity, color, colors, and all that. How do I add a new one to it? Okay, so I have already done that over here. You can see this color option. This I have created using the theme customization API functions and hooks. Okay, so the job of this tool is basically to change the color of the headings and the site title, etc. If you click on it, you can just click it and see it dynamically. Okay, so let's get started. So what you need to do, you need to go to your theme folder. In my case, I'm using a gospel theme, and then that's the name of my theme. Okay, and go into your include folder, and you probably might already have a customizer.php file in it. If you don't, then you can watch my second video where I've explained that, how to go ahead and use it without it. So if you go into it, you can just comment it out because we want to start fresh. Okay, so I've created a new file which is called customizer.php inside of my include directory, and I have included that into my functions.php file over here, as you can see, which means this file is going to load up along with the functions.php. Now if you go on to the theme customization API Codex site, you can see in order for us to create these options, the very first step is to go ahead and create our custom function and use the custom register hook to call this function. Okay, so what is happening over here is that we're using this add action hook. So whenever the script reaches the custom register hook, it calls the add action calls our custom function, and custom function basically defines all the section settings, controls, etc. Okay, and whenever this function is called, the most important thing that happens is it goes ahead and instantiate a predefined WordPress class which is called the WP Customize Manager class. And so if you go on to WP includes class WP Customize Manager, you can see this is the WordPress class WP Customize Manager class. So this class is instantiated, which means an object is created which will have the access to all of its properties and methods and all of that. Okay, and that object name is WP Customize. So as soon as this script reaches the hook, it calls this function, instantiates that class, and that class creates an object which is WP Customize, which has access to all of its properties and methods of the class, and that becomes available to this function right here, and then we'll use this function to define the settings, controls, etc. inside of it. Okay, now so I've done that. I have created in this file let's close this one. In this file, which is customizer.php, I have already defined this function. I have already called the add action. Okay, so if you check the definition of this function, it says the first part, the prefix, needs to be your theme name and my theme name is Gospel, so I've done that. And then customize register, and then this variable object we need to pass over here. And I've done that in this function. This function starts from here, ends here, and then I'm calling the add action, which is customize register, and that's the same thing that's asking me to do, and then calling the function. So inside of this function, we need to do three things. One is add setting. We need to access the method of WP customize. So there are three methods we will access for WP customize. Basically, it's add setting, add section, and add control. These methods actually belong to the class which is WP Customize Manager. As I've already explained to you that when this add action is called, the class is instantiated and it gives us the object which has the properties and methods which will be accessible, and these three functions are actually the methods of the class which is accessible by this object. Alright guys, so I'll go on this for these functions one by one, but I'll just give you a brief description of what these functions, what these methods do. So the add setting, job of this add setting is basically to create a database value for the theme settings. Add section, basically job of this is to add a section containing input fields in the customizer, and the add control basically creates the input field. So this creates the input fields for our customizer tool. So this input field that you see over here, the header color selected and everything, this input field is created by add control function. Then this is added by add section. So this is added in over here by add section, and then the values of it, whatever the user enters, it's fed into database so that the changes are, go live, is done by add settings. So this basically creates the database value. Okay, so now I'll go through these functions one by one. So this there is this parameter. First parameter it takes is actually the setting ID. So you need to remember this ID. I mean, not like literally remember, but we're going to use this later on when we are using the third hook that I spoke about for the JavaScript file. So this hook, and second is the array, and this is basically the default value, the default color of the theme. Transport property refresh means that WordPress will refresh the preview with the new value entered by the user. Then we have, I'll go to this function first then. Okay. Then we have this function. This will create an input field and add it to your chosen section. This function also takes care of modifying the data in the database when a new input field is updated. And we are instantiating a class WP customize control to create the input field, and passing the new. So as you can see over here, we are passing this particular instantiation of this class, and so obviously it gets the object. Okay, so we are instantiating the object to add control. Okay, and this class needs the WP customize object, so we're passing this class over here as well, and then it needs the second parameter as the ID, so we're using theme color as the ID. Okay, and then we need to pass the array inside of it, which contains the additional settings we need to set. So the label is basically the label of the input field. The section is the where, which ID it needs to be added to, so that section. And then we have setting. We define the same name as we have done it in add settings, so that's the same name. That's basically the setting ID. Okay. So this part right here, the label header color is the same right here, and let's do an inspect element. Okay, and then obviously we have to pass the theme name, and this means that we are translating this later on. If it's translated to a different language, even this part is going to be translated. So this function is creating the input field. Okay, so once this input field is created, then we add this section using the add section function. Okay, and then it takes the array, title, and everything. So these are all predefined, and these are all mentioned onto our Codex WordPress. If you scroll down to add a new setting using add setting function, then add section function, add control function, and all of that. So all of that information is there. They even have a sample customization class. So they've defined a customization class, and the function register that we have defined over here, this register function, they have defined that in the class as well. And then they're using the add section, add setting, and add control, all of that. So you can refer to that later on if you want, do it in a class format. But let's stick to the basics that we are doing right now. So just to recap, we've got this function which is called by this hook. It takes the object. We are accessing the methods of this object: add setting, add section, add control. Add setting creates the setting database value. Add control creates the input field. Add section adds those input field into the customizer. Okay, so we do these three things. We'll just comment out this bit that I had written. So far, if you check, we will have our color customizer ready. So with that code, we're able to get this. Okay, I think I missed something somewhere. Okay, just one moment. Alright, so with that bit of code, as you can see, all we have in this file is just this function, and we're calling this function, and we already discussed these three functions that we've used. With this bit of code, all we have is just our customizer setting, but if you click on it and change the color, nothing happens. Only the page is getting refreshed, but nothing's happening. There's no change happening. So remember at the beginning of the video I'd explained that just this customizer register hook is not going to do us the work. It's only going to define the settings, and you'll be able to see it over here. But in order for this to function, we need to use the WPHead hook. So if you go to your Codex, then you'll be able to see that the next step after defining it is to generate the live CSS, which is go ahead and use this WPHead hook. Okay, so and we call our own function. So let's go ahead and do that. So I've already written the code, I've just pasted it. So what I've pasted is the add action, the WPHead hook that we are speaking about, the second hook, and we have a custom function, and our codex says that in this function we need to use our theme name, then the customize CSS. Right, but in our case we're using the gospel head. We're naming it as gospel head. Gospel is the name of our theme, as we know. Okay, so yeah, perfect. Alright, so what we're doing over here is that whenever the script reaches WPHead, is going to call this function. This function is going to add a style, okay, to navbar, navbar inverse, card reader, all of these classes, and the h1 tag. So whatever changes you used to see onto our website whenever we select the color, all those changes are coming with this class that we have written the CSS for. Okay, so we're going to call this getThemeMod function. Okay, so I'll explain to you what this does. So this will allow us to echo information in the head tag of our theme. We are using this getThemeMod function, this function, to get the ID name. So this function basically gets the gets the value. Okay, in fact changes the value. All right, and it said default value is this. Okay, all right, so this header bg color is actually coming from here in the add setting. Remember, we had defined it here, we had defined it here in the setting. So this is basically the setting ID. So we have to define the same setting ID here, and then we give it the default color is this, and then this will change the color to whatever the user has entered over here. Okay, so getThemeMod basically gets the value of the header bg color, and default value is this. So whenever the user changes anything, it's going to get that from the database, and we're going to go ahead and apply that to the color property. So, and we put that as important. Okay, so that's the job of this. So now if we go ahead and after using this WPHead hook, now if we go ahead and refresh our page, and if you make any changes, you can see that in fact the change has already been made. Yeah, so that's how simple it is. I mean, that's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything else, right? So just a recap of the whole thing. So the WordPress theme customization API allows us to add or manipulate or change anything on the customizer. We can add new settings, tools. We can also modify the existing ones. In this tutorial, I've explained to you how to add a new one. We do that by using two hooks, customize register and WPHead. Customize register basically will go ahead and define these settings for the tools, and WPHead hook is going to go ahead and display that, render that for a live preview and make necessary changes. This hook basically is calling this function, which is instantiating the class, providing this object of the class. We're accessing the three methods of the class, which is add setting, add section, add control. Add control creates the input field. Add section adds the input field to the customizer, and add setting creates the database value for those input fields into the database. And then that's what allows us to see what we're seeing over here, this option. And then we use the add action with the WPHead, which actually calls this function. This function goes ahead and changes the CSS of these classes elements with these classes every time the user make any changes over here, and we are able to see that. Now in the next video we're also going to talk about the third hook, which is your customized preview init to make everything more faster for a live preview. Okay, thank you very much guys. I hope you liked the video. If you have any questions, leave the comment. Thank you very much. Bye.